coming up on Leading the Charge.
With that modelling, we still had resistance. And in the end, I said, let me just put 10 out. I said, we'll pick 10. I said, we'll put them out for a month. At the end of that month, we'll review the reporting. If I haven't saved you money, CO2, fuel, I'll take them away and I won't charge you.
This is Leading the Charge, where we talk innovation and insights in the industry of sustainable energy. Leading the Charge is brought to you by Power2, a global provider of energy storage solutions. And now, from the Power2 studio and broadcasting everywhere from leadingthecharge.io, here are your hosts, Tim Doling and Kevin Sturmer. Welcome to Leading the Charge, where we talk battery energy storage, insights, innovation, and the industry of sustainable energy. My name is Kevin, and I work in the marketing department of a company called Power2. And with us, as always, is the incredible Tim Doling. He is the Vice President of Global Markets here at Power2. How are you doing, Tim?
I'm doing good, Kevin. How are you doing?
Doing so well. So well today. We have Power2's very own Neil Hordle with us on the podcast. He's our UK-based business development manager. He has been in the hire industry for over 2 decades, working with companies like Gap and Speedy and Sunbelt. But what's really important was the key role he has played in helping those hire companies, in helping those end customers make that energy transition, identifying those projects where it makes sense to transition from a diesel generator to a battery energy storage system, and it'll save them time, it'll save them money, and then also turning that plan into action. Neil, it is great to have you here. We're going to get into how you did that for all of these wonderful companies in a moment, but just great to have you here. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Neil, when did it first start to come onto your radar, these energy storage systems, as far as rental companies or hire companies, as you call them in the UK?
About 4 years ago when I worked at Speedy Hire, we had a division there called Partner Services at the time. They bring in other suppliers to complement our core range of equipment. We had a company come in and partner with us then, and then we later acquired Greener Power.
I see. So they did it through a partner rather than bring on fleet themselves at that point?
At the start, yeah. And then I don't know the full background of it, the opportunity to acquire a business came up and they took it.
Yeah, excellent. So at that point, what were some of the applications you were seeing as a typical application for the energy storage systems?
From a personal point of view, at that point in time, I didn't get involved too much with it, but a lot of it was focused around site compounds and powering them up and the reducing the reliance on the generator.
Yeah, I see. So you could take a generator that was typically running maybe 24 hours a day and bring that down to a fraction of that potentially. Yeah.
Save the fuel during the night, save the noise, over the weekend. Yeah.
What were some of the initial reactions or hesitations, concerns from customers when you were trying to roll this type of technology out?
I think it was the belief that it would actually work. We would present modeling, we could say on estimate, we would save you this much money, fuel, CO2. And it was actually getting both sustainability teams and procurement teams to actually buy into it.
Yeah, that's so interesting because that aligns directly with the type of thing I had here in the States. I can remember vividly talking to a construction manager and he said, it's great looking technology, but does it actually work? And that was our job to prove that the technology does indeed work and it does what it says it's going to do. So were there internal challenges within the companies you worked at as well, or was it just typically the customer adoption side?
Certainly from my side, a little bit of disbelief that it did actually work. But it was only when I regularly started to put them out to customers that you could really see the savings were true.
Which segues nicely into what I was going to ask next. Was there a specific turning point whereby that started to happen? The customers started to enjoy the savings, enjoy the CO2 emission savings. So the turning point happened, or is that still in the process of happening? I don't know. What would you say for the UK market?
I think we are quite far down the journey with it now. I remember I had a particular customer of mine come to me and say that they were struggling on their journey to net zero and asked, what could I do? They were a large hirer of generators, had 100, 110 generators on hire from me. Quite a large chunk of those were on unlimited hours contracts, so running through the night, running over the weekend. So I immediately said, let me put batteries on them. There was some resistance. The sustainability team were all over it. Procurement, not so much. They were concerned about the cost and whether that saving would actually drop at the bottom as well. We presented some modelling around it and said, look, if you let us put batteries out on these, as long as the applications are right, we can potentially save you this, this, and this. Even with that modelling, we still had resistance. And in the end, I said, let me just put 10 out. I said, we'll pick 10. I said, we'll put them out for a month. At the end of that month, we'll review the reporting. If I haven't saved you money, CO2, fuel, I'll take them away and I won't charge you.
And that job, that went well?
Yeah, thankfully it went well. 9 out of the 10 present really good savings. One of them was just slightly off, but it still saved a good element of CO2, not so much in fuel and pounds and pence.
That's fantastic. So I had a question for you, because this comes up a lot in the States, is if I'm selling unlimited power, we call it here triple shift, you're running all around the clock. So that means I get to double my rental rate for selling that. It also means I can sell the fuel. I come along and offer a battery, I'm taking away from those revenue streams. And as a rep, maybe I don't get compensated as well if I'm cutting down on the fuel sale and the unlimited runtime. Did you ever come across those type of problems, or is it a different kind of structure there?
Yeah, my the head of fuel at Speedy, we were really close. We worked really closely with several customers, and when I started to put batteries out large scale, he wasn't too pleased because we were taking the revenue away from him. But then we switched a lot of accounts to HVO around the same time, so which commanded a better rate. So it swings and roundabouts with him. But yeah, it was the saving of fuel. It takes from one and gives to the other. But we're making the customer happy at the end of the day. So the best way to do that is the way that I worked.
So the typical customer for energy storage would also use HVO.
That's the dream.
Yeah.
From a sustainability point, battery HVO.
What's your takeaway, and how could you advise somebody else who may be coming into the industry a bit newer? How should they approach this?
I think for me at the beginning, I didn't understand how it worked. We had pockets of training that I don't think, from my personal point of view, I had enough training. Like I said, it took me until I started seeing the savings after I put them out to customers. I don't think I fully believed it. And I think if you pick the correct application, the savings can be huge.
Absolutely can. I think that's a really good point as far as vendor training. From my perspective, having come into this, coming from the world of fuel tanks, then trying to sell this as cutting down on fuel usage, I think number one is to not oversell the technology. So understand what it really can do, accurately present that to the customers. So that's number one. And the second thing is having a vendor that can give you proper training, that knows the system well enough to give you proper training, and pointing you to actual case studies with real data that show, in this application, this is what we've proved in the past. Your application might be slightly different, but close enough to give you an idea of how it's going to work. So vendor training, I think, is key.
Wonderful to hear sort of the journey that you went on from not believing it all the way to saying, oh no, this is it. And it's a data-driven journey. That's the thing, I think, my biggest takeaway. And I think that anybody looking to make that energy transition might also have a similar takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, I remember receiving the reporting through for the 10 that we put out, and I put a simple table together. Fuel saved, pound saved, and CO2 saved. It was 3 boxes, and I took all the figures out of all 10 reports, manual process, put them into a box and sent them to the customer. After that, it was a free-for-all, just get them out where you can. We had to mobilize our whole team and get around all these sites, check what the applications were, if they were suitable. Batteries were out. And I actually caught up with the team of the customer I worked with the other day, and the fuel savings they're receiving now, because they've still carried on with the journey. They're fully in. Fuel savings they're in now monthly are into six figures, and it's huge.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I know, Tim, we normally end each episode with a question, but today we're going to change it up. So we're going to play a little game that we like to call Living Your Best Life. And that is BESS, Living Your Best Life for Battery Energy Storage System. Here we go. Neil, are you ready to play Living Your Best Life?
I'm a bit nervous, Kevin, but yeah.
Here we go. Okay, true or false? You can reduce generator runtime by up to 80% by integrating a battery energy storage system into a hybrid solution.
That would be true.
Perfect. Okay, next question. Peak shaving is when you use an electric razor between the hours of 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. True or false?
That one is false.
False. Okay, Tim, I'm going to throw it to you. What is peak shaving?
Peak shaving is when you use the battery to top up the energy required for the load source, simply put.
Simply put. Wonderful, wonderful answer. Okay, all right. True or false? Last question. In 1 year of a 24/7 power bank operation, one project saved over 53,000 liters of fuel and experienced 67% less downtime or contractor visits. True or false?
I'd go true with that one.
Yep. It is absolutely true. And those are the kind of numbers that one might expect when integrating a power bank into their energy solution. I will say thank you for joining us, Neil. And whatever platform you are on, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, do all of those wonderful good things. If you have time, leave a review. If you want to learn more, you can go check out our show notes. We'll have a link to connect with Neil on LinkedIn. Or you can also just visit leadingthecharge.io for everything. Our legal team wants me to say that any statements or views expressed by the hosts or guests on Leading the Charge are entirely their own and do not necessarily reflect the opinions or positions of Power 2, their partners, or affiliates. And a big thank you, Neil, as I said before. We really appreciate you taking the time to join us today.
Thank you, Kevin. I'm looking forward to the comments once this goes online.
Wonderful, wonderful. Yes.
We'll be watching carefully.
Yes, we will. We'll be watching carefully. And everybody listening, leave a comment below, leave a review, and engage in the conversation of how you're making the energy transition. And finally, we know your time is valuable, and we appreciate you spending even just a little bit of that time with us. So let's continue the energy transition and keep leading the charge toward an efficient and sustainable future. See you next time.